Hey everybody, welcome back to Final Stitch. I'm Natalie with Missouri Star Quilt Company. Today we have a great episode. We're going to be talking about what to do with inherited or leftover blocks, and I'm excited to get started. We've so enjoyed hearing from all of you, and we've gotten some great questions and comments about what to do with inherited blocks. Liz, what's our first question today?
So our first question comes from Becca. She says, I found a bunch of old blocks in a stash I inherited from my great aunt. It looks like she made these many years ago. They're not quite square, but I don't know if it's okay to square them up. What should I do with these?
So I would say if you know you want to make a project and use these blocks, then it's absolutely okay to square them up. I have a stack right here that Mom found at an antique store, and they are beautiful. They have all these fun colors and obviously hand-pieced with diamonds and Y-seams, but they are clearly not all the same size anymore, and you can see that they go in and out and they're kind of messy. So if we were going to do anything with them, we would need to square them up to make the quilt flat and to make the blocks all fit together. So I think it's 100% okay to square up your blocks if you're working with antique blocks. And my opinion personally, because I've been quilting a while, if somebody found blocks of mine and they loved them, I would want them to use them. I'd want that to get, turned into something functional or beautiful.
You'd want them to live on.
Yeah. So in looking at these blocks real quick, I'll just go through my process. I would want to measure them all and find the smallest measurement. And if the smallest measurement is too small, then I'm going to add some fabric to make the blocks all bigger so that they can square to the same size.
Okay, so you want them all to square to the same size so you can use them.
Yes. Yep. So they've either got to be able to be squared to the same size without sashing, or you add a row. And I'll show you how, so these ones measure about, well, if I'm looking at about the smallest, it's about 14 inches square, roughly. And this one, it's a little bit bigger. It's actually closer to 15 inches. And then this one in the pile, it looks like it's been washed before. So it's going to measure down at like 13.5 inches. So for this to get up to the 15, I would have to add like an inch all the way around. And do keep in mind, when you add an inch to one side, you're adding it all the way around. So
you're really adding 2 inches.
You're really adding 2 inches. So if it's 13, it goes up to 15, and it'll be square because you do it on all four sides.
Gotcha.
You can, if you want to, get creative. Put your sashing only on one corner. Whatever it is that you want to do to make these blocks set in different ways. The options are endless, really.
Sky's the limit, yeah.
Sky is the limit. So today, though, what I'm going to do is talk about these blocks in particular. This one, I'm going to square to a straight, clean edge so that the block itself is square, and then I'm going to add a strip. I'll probably go with 1.5, 2 inches all the way around so that I can center it and square it
and then trim it down
to the size that I want.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this little block, I'm going to go ahead and square. The rest of them, I think I can get to something more consistent.
Okay.
So these ones I trimmed up the other day while I was thinking about this. And I went with a 14-inch measurement. And you'll notice on this block, these points got cut off. And as long as I keep things like that somewhat even, it doesn't bother me. I think it's still going to look beautiful. It'll still be a finished project, and I'll hang it on my wall and love it.
Yeah. Or
snuggle with it on the couch and think about, the person that I inherited them from, or the woman that spent her time making them. They look like flour sack materials. It's a great piece of history. And so I don't mind losing the points a bit in order to make them more functional.
Right.
All right, so let's get these squared up, and then we'll add our border piece to this one. So when I initially start squaring, I'm just going to start on one side and get a straight line going. These are, yeah, they're less than 15, so I can use that ruler. You definitely would want to press these. I've already pressed these quite a bit and starched, so that is a tip if you're wanting to get started. Get them pressed. And as far as keeping points, all you have to do is remember that if you have a 1/4 of an inch from the edge of that point, you'll be fine. So we're going to start with this straight edge, and then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do the opposite side to keep this straight. And I do not know quite yet how big this is going to be because I'm trying, this piece right here is really kind of cut off. All right, we're just going to get rid of these fuzzies and make a nice straight line. Okay.
And are you worried right now about the 14 inches, or you're just getting nice
Right
straight
now
lines?
I'm not, because this block is getting a sashing.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
all I'm doing is making the edges straight. Then I will add whatever amount of fabric I'm going to add, and that's when I'll go to 14 inches.
Gotcha. Okay.
So right now, I honestly I don't really care what size it is because I know I'm going to add. I'll measure it to make sure that I put enough on.
Sure.
But right now, I'm just worried about getting straight lines.
So that when you add your sashing, it's nice and straight.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I am worried about keeping it square, so I'm still watching these lines to make sure that everything is still square. But I'm not super worried if it ends up being 12 3/8 or something like that. That's fine.
Doesn't matter. No.
Yep.
Okay.
Not yet. We'll get there. Okay. One more side. Okay. All right. At this point, this is my last cut, and I do want to make sure my block is square, so I'm going to stick this in the corner just to double check. It is 13.5 inches tall, and the half line is right in this section, so I'm going to clean that up. And then I will add some little strips to this.
So before you add strips to that, how
want
would
me
you
to
square the...
Square the bigger ones? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so we decided that these ones are going to square to 14 inches even. So basically, you're going to do that in the same way, but we're going to watch our grid. We're going to watch our numbers. So we're starting here. I've got about the 10 inches to the 24. That's 14 inches. And so I'm kind of going to try and center it up on that section and see if I can make it fit. And then same thing. I'm just going to start with one side and do the opposite side and keep them within that 14-inch square. So, and this is where you've got to decide if you're going to lose points or not worry about it. And I happen to be completely unbothered by losing points on these blocks today. I think they look just fine.
And like you said at the beginning, if it's consistent, your eye kind of likes it to be consistent more than it worries about perfect points.
Yes.
And this way it gets to be used and loved.
Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of eyeballing my square. I know that I've got 10 to 14 here, or 10 to 24. And then same here, 2 to 16, that's 14.
Yep.
So you just kind of find a spot that makes sense. Okay. So this is our last cut on this one.
And we should say too, like you said, you've pressed these already and you've used a little bit of starch. So the ruffly edge is the ruffly edge is the ruffly edge sometimes.
Yes, and there's a lot of extra fabric on this and a few little pleated areas.
It's all
So
going to be okay when you quilt it.
I think it's going to look really fun. I have a fun fabric that we picked to go with it. I'll show you that in a minute. All right, same idea here. So I'm looking for my 14 to 24, or 10 to 24, sorry. That would be a little bit short. So watching those lines and just kind of centering it up, and then I go all the way around. So it gives a little bit of freedom in that I really get to just kind of do my best and not feel too bad about it, you know? I don't feel too much pressure to make it perfect. And you can see on this line right here, this is just shy of the 14 inches, but I know that it's not more than 1/4 of an inch, so I'll catch that even though it's going to be slim. I'll just make sure and watch it when I'm sewing.
Gotcha.
It's not going to be too terrible, but then I still have, like, the majority of it is square, which is going to make my life a whole lot easier when I'm assembling this. All right. 10 to 24, keeping it straight. There's another little dip right here, but I'm not worried about it.
Right.
It's going to be okay because it's within 1/4 of an inch from the edge, which means my seam it'll be caught in the seam. It'll just be a little short on that, in that part. All right, 10, 16, 24, we're good. Whoops. Got to re-straighten it. Okay, so I've got those squared up. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the little bit of extra. And what I'm doing for this particular one, you could use whatever color you want, but I found a great little piece of muslin fabric that looks almost identical to the background. So that's the piece I'm going to use. And I think that because this measures 13.5, which is pretty close to 14, but I'm going to go ahead and add a little border all the way around to make it match the rest of them. I have this little piece right here where the flying geese kind of came apart, but it looks like I have enough fabric, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch that back together just so that there's not a hole in it in that area.
So you can do a quick repair on the
Yep,
edge.
just a super quick little thing. It'll make it a whole lot stronger. And then I will add my strips, and I think I'm going to go with maybe like a 2-inch strip just so I have plenty of room. Got some strips cut already. Actually look perfect. So let me fix this guy. And to do this, I mean, I'm just going to try and finish out this diagonal seam. So I'm going to fold it back and go right along that edge with these beautiful tiny little stitches.
I think the other thing that's really nice about you showing us this is it's totally okay to do a machine repair on a hand-stitched block.
Yep. Well, and this one has, actually, if you look at the back, it's a combination of machine and hand.
Nice.
I wonder if the machine was a treadle, though. You never know.
You never know. That's why you wish for those labels, right?
Yes. All right, that actually worked out pretty well. I'm happy with that. Okay, now I'm going to add these pieces and right on top, and I'm going to just go all the way around the whole block.
Okay.
I'll do my 2 sides and then my top and bottom.
Okay. Just like you were cutting.
Just like,
sides and then top and bottom.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to lift and look just to make sure that I am catching the fabric.
And I noticed you're putting the strip on top of the block. Why do you do that?
It's my habit because when you add borders to a quilt, if you put them on the bottom, the feed dogs will carry more fabric, and then you'll end up with a wavy border. And so anytime I add a strip to anything, I put it on top and I hold it nice and tight, not super tight, like you don't want it to then ruffle the block.
Sure.
But tight enough that it just keeps everything
So you don't
more
get that
in line.
wavy border. Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And it is just my habit. I think in this situation, technically you could go either way because it's a small piece, but I'm just
No, it's a good
just
habit.
going with what I know.
One, because we were cutting off some roughly parts of the block, it makes sense to make
Right.
as straight an edge as possible.
Right, right. Now, if you wanted to be more particular, you could cut these to 13.5 inches so that all of your strips ended up helping to square your block.
Gotcha. Okay.
That would be a more accurate
Extra precise.
accurate way of doing it. But
Okay.
I'm not super worried at this point because I am going to square it up again
Right.
anyways.
Right.
Okay.
And that fabric's a pretty darn good match for that background.
It's a great match. This worked out perfectly. All right, now I'm going to trim these off. There's a lot of things you can do with found or inherited blocks. I've had, my mom made me one that is just a cute little pillow, and it was like a whole quilt that got cut up into small pieces, and I just keep it set on my shelf in my sewing room, and it's so cute. I've seen them framed, made into wall hangings, or those, you can take a quilt that has some damage and turn it into a bed runner.
Yeah.
Lots of fun things that can be done to save.
I know a family who had taken a quilt that had gotten worn through in several spots and cut it into Christmas stockings, actually.
Oh, I love that idea
so everybody
too.
got a stocking.
That's so great. And then there's all these good memories and then good memories to come in the future for the
Yeah,
continued use of that project.
that's right.
And that. This is a super long piece, so I'm just going to flip it around and use it.
the other end.
And then we'll cut them at the same time.
Perfect.
It's a nifty little trick when you're string or strip piecing something. You don't have to cut it off. You can just use the other side if there's enough space. Anything to save time and effort. All right, we'll press this back. So you can see this, this long loop over here. Looks kind of funny at first, but you know.
I'm just going to trim it off anyway.
Made life easier for the moment. So I'll cut that little section and flip him around. It looks to me like we did pretty well on saving points on this guy.
That's great.
Yeah, looks really nice, I think.
It's funny that this one seems to have gone through the wash and shrank.
It does, yeah. It shrunk a little bit. I'm going to scoot this over, or up and out of the way. And then we are going to trim him down to 13 or 14 inches, correct?
Right.
All right, so what that looks like is a centering trick. We're actually at 17 and a half. So we have to take off a little bit more than 3 inches all the way around, which means it's going to be about 1.5 inches from each side.
Okay.
So I'm just going to kind of lift and look and make sure. And honestly, everything else on this project is kind of eyeballed, so I'm not super stressed about it.
Right, so you can eyeball this too.
Mm-hmm. And if I put that, so that's going to put me right about there on this side. And it looks like it will be very similar on the other side, so I feel comfortable. So what I was looking at there, this is the 14 line, and I wanted to see how far from this seam the 14 was going to be, and it looks like it's about 1/2 inch, roughly.
Okay.
And then on this side, I'm looking at this beginning corner line, because that's where I'm going to put this side when I flip it around.
Yep.
And so I want to make sure that I have about the same space from the seam on that side, because when you're eyeballing, you're still trying to center it up, but it doesn't have to be exact.
Right, you don't have to be within 1/16 of an inch perfect.
Exactly. So I'm trying to eyeball it with some amount of accuracy and something that's going to come out and be pleasing to the eye.
Yeah.
So just checking that line, and then also checking over here, and I see that I'm going to be pretty close. So I'm going to make sure that's pulled up so that I can see the bottom of the 14. All right, here we go.
Kind of like a bravery test.
Kind of. And my ruler's not quite long enough, so I'm going to slide it up. Yep, as soon as I get far enough up from the bottom that I can cover the top, I slide it up, because I don't want to go off one way or the other.
And I say you hold your rotary cutter in place while you slide
Yes.
your ruler. Okay.
Yep, keep those things set, and then you're good. All right, so we're going to flip it. We'll do the other side. Going for that 14 again. And then we do the same thing. Same thing here. So we're going to go with about, put my seams at that. And this is much easier because it's now smaller than the ruler. So.
Uh-huh.
And even though it ends up being just a little bit of extra, it makes the blocks all the same size, and it won't stand out in a way that is, I guess what I mean to say is I think it's going to look really good.
Yeah.
It's going to look really good. And I may put this one in the center and then put the rest of them around it. You know, I don't know for sure. So, and really, actually, that's where we're at. We're at, let's figure out how to use these blocks. One way that I find to be super fun and easy is just to cut a solid piece of fabric and do like every other one. So, or you could put them all together. Let's see. So I have 6 blocks. Do I have 6?
You have 5 blocks.
I only have 5. You're right. Thank you. Okay. So I have 5 blocks. So I'm kind of thinking it might look cool to do these in a 9-patch setting with 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks of just a regular fabric.
Okay.
And these fabrics are really bright and fun, but there's also like some red and some brown. So I went searching in the stash downstairs and we found this really cute fabric. It's not in the same era, but it has a lot of fun, bright colors. And I think it will be really cute because it's got this
love it.
sheepy knitting type of a feel to it. So we're gonna do this. We'll do one here and 1 star block. I'm gonna scoot this guy to the side. Then we'll do another little print. And this time I am gonna leave them all forward facing. A lot of times I don't really worry about right side up or directional fabric, but this time I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
So, and I just think it's just kind of fun to find a piece that has, you know, it has the teal here and it has the hot pink and it has the red from this one.
It does. It pulls out all the colors, the purples and the browns. I like how it's like a combination of very old blocks and very new fabric.
It kind of makes it very contemporary. Oh, I'm going to have to switch because I have 5. I forgot these were the middle ones. There we go. We'll get that right. That guy goes in the middle, and then these 2 guys go down here.
Oh, cute. Okay.
So there we go. So we're just going to make a giant 9-patch, and we're going to add these little finished blocks in between. And that is what I'm going to do with these ones. And I think this will look so cute with either a little cuddle on the back to snuggle up with on the couch, or I may just quilt it and hang it on the wall because it's just cute. It's fun.
It is.
So
it's really fun.
that's one idea.
Okay. So we've got a couple of other questions. Maybe we put this aside for now. We'll show you guys what we do with this later, whether Natalie ends up adding cuddle to the back or creating a wall hanging. And then we have another question about leftover blocks from a quilt that's finished.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was just one way that you could use an inherited or found block. There are actually so many different things we could do, but I think we have one more question, and I will let Liz give us that question.
Right. So Marie asked, I have a couple of leftover blocks from a quilt I finished. What can I do with a few blocks without making a whole new big quilt?
I actually think this is kind of one of the ways that we can have the most freedom and the most creativity. You can do whatever you want with them. So I found a few blocks in Mom's stash left over from some kits we made a long time ago, and they're all different colors. And so the first thing you want to do, obviously, is make sure they're all the same size. Square them up. Always kind of do that. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Mm-hmm. But we have 4 blocks, and they're, you know, red and orange and yellow. So I was thinking it would be cute to just do a little square wall hanging or table topper, and maybe do a fun sashing treatment on these. So sashing is great because it separates the block, but it also gives you an opportunity to add something secondary.
Nice.
And so what I was thinking is that we could take these blocks and put them in a little 4-patch, because 4 is perfect, and we'll put, I found this is an old batik that I don't know if we have anymore, but it's kind of rainbowy and has like all the colors. So I thought it would look really cute if we used that. So I would put one here in the middle. And these blocks are made out of batik. So I went hunting for something that might kind of match the background, and I didn't find an exact match. It can be tricky, you know, when you're looking for something that you're looking through fabrics that are newer to match things that you had a long time ago. But you kind of also have to be willing to try new things and say, oh, this isn't what I thought I was going to do with it, but it actually looks really good.
Right.
So I pulled out everything that had any beige or cream or tan or even red, yellow, and orange, anything like that. And we found this one that kind of has like a little bit of a zebra stripe look. Neat. And it had the same it had the same tones. You know, it's in the same family as far as shading and tone. So these are the strips that we cut, and we measured all of our blocks. These blocks measure 11 inches. So we cut our sashing to 11 inches, and they're going to go in between just like this. And I have a couple of really fun ideas. So one thing you can do is snowball these little sashing strips and end up with a little friendship star. So then you would just do that, where you snowball that corner, and they look so cute.
Yes.
And then another, let's see, I'll show you this.
You get this kind of secondary thing happening
so
in the
you end
center.
up with this cute little friendship star in the middle. And how fun would it be to give that to a friend, right?
Right.
Here's this cute little wall hanging because I love you. Because, you know, friends.
Yeah.
So, and friendship stars, they just all go the same direction. So you would just run these through and strip piece them, and then they end up rotating in a little, kind of a pinwheely star.
And does it matter which way they go as long as they go the same way?
On friendship stars, they all go the same direction.
Okay. But it doesn't matter if they snowballed that side or this side?
No, just be
Okay.
consistent. Yeah, I don't think it matters. So see, then you'd have like this cute little friendship star in the middle.
Awesome.
Another thing, obviously, is you could make the little star legs. So then these would just overlap to create a different type of star. Does that make sense? Let me see. I did one here where I finished a couple so you could see. All right, I'm going to take these away. I'll throw in this one. I actually did friendship star on one end and regular star on the other end. So we could flip them around. And I thought it might actually be kind of fun. We created a little poll.
That's
so
right.
that you guys could participate and help me decide, do we want a star, like a traditional star, or a friendship star?
Perfect. So guys, look for the poll in the comment section of this video and let us know if we should make the friendship star or the traditional 8-point star in the center of this quilt. And then we will check your comments, and the winning vote is how we'll finish this quilt, and we'll bring it back in a future episode.
I'm just folding these so I can press them and make them stay a little bit better. So you can get the idea. And these are just little 2.5-inch squares that I'm going to overlap in the middle to make that star point, just like that.
Awesome.
Isn't that cute?
Okay, so that is our kind of slightly wonky leg star.
It's barely, though. I mean,
just barely.
Not
It's
super
pretty even.
wonky.
Right.
They're pretty similar.
And then can you flip it around and show us the friendship star?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome.
So we'll do this for friendship star. And let me press one of these because that'll make it easier to see. And this one will go just like that.
And so with just this tiny little bit of extra work, you've got
A neat little friendship star in the middle.
a really cool center for your leftover blocks.
Right, and then, you know, depending on what you want, you could put the little cream strip all the way around and do a border, or you could bind it just as is. Mm-hmm. And it makes a really cute little project that, you know, could be
Could be anything.
could be hung on the wall, could be set on your table.
Could make a good
and then
doll quilt.
I mean, and really these can go in a row. You could do a long straight table runner just with plain sashing in between. You know, just so many different ideas with blocks. I mean,
yeah.
I love the creative license that it gives you to just
kind of play.
do whatever you want and just play with them.
So guys, do take that poll and let us know which way we should finish this one. And then show us what you do with sashing and cornerstones and how you put your leftover blocks together. We would love to see more ideas. If you share with us on social media using the hashtag MSQC Show and Tell, then we can see all of your awesome projects.
And I love to see your projects. It's so fun. There's so much creativity and talent out there. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Final Stitch. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.